Television highlights of the news of yesteryear. Havana, hotbed of Cuba's carnival of intrigue. It's 1933, and newly elected President Gerardo Machado has parlayed his control of the army and of public utilities into a mighty force that has suppressed unrest and revolt. But now it's different. Despite Machado's planes and arms, the people strike against his domination. As railroad cars lie idle, the Cuban army splits its allegiance. Officers remain loyal to Machado. Soldiers side with the striking Cuban populace. The Hotel Nacional houses army officers, but tension tightens in the city. Havana's streets are almost deserted. Movement against Machado is imminent. In Miami, American Ambassador Sumner Wells attempts to mediate, but his efforts are unsuccessful. And in August 1933, the revolution is on. Riots break out in the streets. Machado's police hurl their horses into the mobs to no avail. Even the presence of the Air Force has no effect. Irate Cubans, roused to fighting fury, rush to destroy Machado-owned property. Sporadic fire from loyal officers hemmed in at the hotel caused slight damage, but the people will not be denied. As these on-the-spot scenes were photographed, Machado is marshaling his men in desperate effort to quell the insurrection. Everywhere there is indication that the revolt will be successful. The home of Machado's paymaster is wrecked. The buses he owned and operated are damaged beyond repair. Trolley and bus terminals are attacked. Vehicles which fled before the mob overtaken and destroyed. As the revolt finds its final fury, American warships steam into Havana to protect our interests in Cuba. At last, Machado is deposed. Outbreaks cease, and Havana prepares for the induction of its new president, Carlos Manuel de Cespedes. Even as these people are cheering their new government head, even as de Cespedes appears on the balcony to acknowledge their demonstration, plans are being made to oust him from office. Within a month, Cuba has its fourth president. This one is Grau San Martin, whose election was spurred on by Fulgenico Batista, army sergeant who rose to colonel and placed San Martin in office. Intrigue on the island enlists the populace to San Martin's support. The former Havana professor is shown here with Batista, who is to become still another Cuban president.
Greatest horse of all time. Yesterday's newsreel brings you the king of the turf, unbeatable, unbelievable man of war. This is the classic head of a conqueror. Retired early in the 1920s, after winning $1 million in purses and fees, Man o' War sired such racing stalwarts as War Admiral, Mars, and Crusader. At the height of his career, the horse stood 16 and a half hands high and weighed 1,200 pounds. But let's watch him run. 1920 coming up, and with it, a challenge race in Canada against J.K.L. Ross's Sir Barton. There's an $80,000 purse in the offing, and Jockey Comer is astride Man o' War as the gallant horse waits to go to the post. And there they go! Man o' War is off to an early lead on a fast track. The finish, with Sir Barton outclassed so badly he can't be seen. This was Man o' War.
It's 1918. and United States Food Administrator Herbert Hoover inaugurates a program to enlist America's youth in a farming movement. These pictures you are watching, showing students volunteering to work the soil to raise additional crops, were duplicated in World War II when victory gardens came into existence. All over the country, planting was begun, and in Fresno, California, the campus became a war garden. Hoover's plan for planting vegetables bears fruit.
Step up and meet one of America's greatest comic strip artists of the 20s, the creator of the famous Barney Google and Sparkplug. This is Billy DeBeck. You've enjoyed this fellow's work ever since you can remember. He's the man responsible for the lovable Jiggs and Maggie in bringing up father, George McManus. The artist is also a collector, walking sticks being his favorite. McManus raises cane.
Doesn't this make you feel old? Yes, it's Shirley Temple, shown with her mother and Irvin S. Cobb, just after she'd made pictures like Stand Up and Cheer and Little Miss Marker. This was Shirley Temple, when those tiny hands held America's heart. Sensational pictures of a tidal wave in Paris. Unexplained causes churn the Seine River into a wild force that challenges the banks of the world-famous waterway to hold it in check. These spectacular shots were made even as floodwaters increased their efforts to break loose. Watch them. As immediate danger lessens and the tidal wave subsides, Parisians line the banks of the Seine to see the waters back up. Nature rages, but ultimately relents.
First dirigible to fly the Atlantic. It's July 6, 1919, and the R-34, which left Scotland July 2nd, arrives over Mineola, Long Island. Despite violent storms en route and severe atmospheric disturbance over Boston, the ship arrives in Long Island after having announced she'd landed Boston. With no radio to inform ground crews of its intention, British Major Pritchard parachutes to Earth to make preparations for landing the history-making airship. The R-34 carried 4,900 gallons of petrol and covered 3,200 miles in 108 hours and 12 minutes. But after her great adventure, still must be brought to the ground. With the United States Navy's C-4 as convoy in the background and Major Pritchard's instructions as a guide, the R-34 is landing. Ropes are released and ballast thrown out of the ship as it descends on Roosevelt Field. Under command of Major G.H. Scott, the R-34 had capacity for 30 officers and men and boasted the first transatlantic stowaway, William Ballantyne, a crew member who had been stricken from the role to lighten the ship. This is the R-34, first lighter-than-air ship to span the ocean. And now, safely anchored, it attracts the curious. Singled out for special honors is Major Scott, who guided the dirigible, and had as his guest on the R-34 U.S. Navy's Commander Lansdowne, later to lose his life in the Shenandoah disaster. This, however, is a moment of triumph for the crew of the airship and for the dirigible itself, the history-making R-34.
Sports ensembles from the 20s. Two unusually flattering riding outfits flank an afternoon two-piece sports outfit on the left, a Duvetine wraparound on right. Satin for evenings, with all curves taboo for the time being. Décolleté and cocktail creations. The model on the right is particularly fetching. Model for Milady in the morning. Chic pajama outfit, matching mules and brocade negligee, trimmed with fur at the neck, cuffs, and hemline. Now that's not too bad or too different from present-day styles, is it? Same girl, but a change of scene and of time. It's afternoon now, and she's wearing a cloche hat with a white band. Short skirt is accordion pleated, and the white jacket features a dark belt. The time grows later, and our friend goes in for a brocade gown with off-the-shoulder neckline. Chiffon sleeves with lace cuffs add a smart note to the ensemble. This pleased the men then, but it's not so gay today.
Gertrude Italy at 15 set 6 world's records in one day. The scene is Brooklyn, and the girl who is to conquer the English Channel is swimming at Brighton Beach. Miss Italy in lane 2 captures her first contest, beating Helen Wainwright and Hilda James. In the freestyle, the young swimming stalwart is all by herself. She swam distances from 300 yards to 500 meters, set the 6 world's records, and looks fresh enough to do it all over again. From the pool to the court, Lacoste and Richards in Paris, 1925. The French and American stars battle it out, with Lacoste finally succumbing to the hard-hitting U.S. star. A leading net notable in the 20s, Vinnie Richards. Now for a race you'll remember. A 2-mile clash pits Glen Cunningham against Don Lash in 1939, and Cunningham grabs the lead. Watch Lash's hand as he almost loses stride. See that? Now for the finish of the race. It's 2 miles, remember, and Lash is famous for his kick, the spurt that comes at the end of a grueling match and breaks the heart of your opponent. There it comes, but Cunningham matches it stride for stride and wins. Don Lash second, Greg Rice third. Greatest middle distance runner of his time, this is Glen Cunningham.